Is this on?
It is on, yes.
Cool. Y'all mentioned a while ago, and also Merrick talked about this, that Twitter dying would be really bad for sex workers. And I don't doubt y'all on that, but what I don't understand is if this is because there's I know that a lot of sex workers do their advertising and marketing on Twitter. What I don't understand is if there's something about Twitter that makes it uniquely good for this, or if it would suck just in that there'd be a really awful kind of transition period until they transition to, say, Reddit or some other platform.
So I have an answer on this. I think ZZ does too. ZZ, do you want to go first?
Yeah, go.
Thing to keep in mind with social media platforms is that they are in fact built differently, right? We could talk about how similar Mastodon and Twitter are, but in actuality, they're not the same thing. They don't function the same way. And so I want to make sure that we don't quite get lost, because sometimes we can't assume that Twitter and Reddit are the same. And
that's where I was going to go, but I was going to go into more greater explanation.
Yeah, go ahead. That's my basic
Yeah. So here's what I'll explain. Like, you're asking, is there something unique about Twitter? My answer to that is yes, for a couple reasons. One is that Twitter allows for not safe for work content in a way that, beyond just hiding it because of sensitivity or adult stuff, is really readily easy to find. Well, Reddit can find adult stuff too. You have to search for it. Like, if you go to the main Reddit pages of what's trending, generally speaking, unless you've turned on the adult filters, you're never going to see adult people. The other thing is that because of Reddit's format, r/whatever, it's a lot harder to get to the specific sex worker you're trying to get to. And so the problem is that I think the issue I would have is that Reddit doesn't really allow for it because of the way its search algorithm and the way its organization system works.
It's formatted as a group. Like, you have a whole subreddit as a group, and not necessarily, that's not really taking care of it individually.
The only way you could deal with that would be is you'd have to create a subreddit that was for sex workers to advertise on, and then people would still have to choose to follow that subreddit. The thing is that you could advertise on Mastodon, but that only goes to those instances that are federated. You could be on Facebook, except you wouldn't be able to show anything adult because that goes against their TOS. You can't show anything adult on Tumblr because that also is against TOS. So, like, in some ways, like, everything is sort of filtered, and you can't show adult shit on Instagram. So while you can post... Can you not? Do you want to go run around for a second? Go find something to do. There. The thing is that, like, if you're talking about, like, which platform makes the most sense, in a lot of ways, Twitter allows for ease of search, ease of finding. If I look up, like, say, I don't know, if I want to look up, like, art that is specifically, like, of a trans or I'm going to say the dreaded word food of nature, I can find that on Twitter in 3 minutes. Because there's either artists, or there are sex workers who are trans who are basically posting this stuff. Like, it's a lot easier. And the problem is that I think with Twitter being gone, the question comes down to inevitably, how do you actually allow for people to be able to advertise in a grand way like Twitter allows for? Autogame in chat says, a lot of this has to do with the damage from Sesta and Fosta. True. And also Apple being able to maintain stranglehold over a lot of the internet by deciding which apps and aren't allowed in the App Store. Yeah. The not to mention the what was it? Visa trying to shut down OnlyFans because they wanted to no longer put money towards adult entertainment. That was a thing. Yeah, no, abso-fucking-lutely. So yeah, I think that's the issue is that Twitter allows for you to get a name, to get as many followers as you want, and basically put out as much content as you want. And if you fall into someone's particular kink or desire or whatnot, you can gain a following very quickly.
Well, and Twitter will keep showing that to you. Twitter's very good at continuing to show that to you. Right? Like, if you try and do that on Mastodon, you need to be following the specific hashtag, and you need to know how to do that properly in the first place. Right? That's the only way you're going to get it in your feed. And then you're going to need other people to start using that hashtag as well, but that's not the easiest thing to communicate large scale to people.
Yeah, and also, this goes to what we were talking about with Actually Satan. This is the same thing. The way in which we frame this stuff, the way we frame sex through the internet, is always created as this dirty thing that's hidden over here. Now, Pornhub's done a pretty good job about pushing that stuff out into the mainstream, at least trying to, by putting out, like, what states like what and all that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, it's still treated that way. Twitter's one of the few places where you can go and actually find this stuff, and it's not separated into a different group or a different thing. And so that's where I think the problem is that in a lot of cases, Twitter just allows for ease of access, ease of advertisement, and honestly, you can directly link to all your stuff in it, and it's one-stop shopping essentially. It's an access issue. So that's why I think Twitter going down would be really negative for a lot of sex workers, is because if a majority of their influx, their flow would be coming in from that, then yeah, it would be really devastating. Because again, I don't think you could get anywhere the same amount of stuff out of like Insta or Facebook or even things like that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm just wondering, I'm not sure I believe this, I'm just, exploring alternatives here. If Twitter were to go down, would another social media maybe try to take that and run with that? Although probably not, because yay, puritanical society.
Honestly, the one I would see doing this, if I can make this is me making a guess, Tumblr. Honestly,
yeah.
If anyone's going to shoot their shot at making fun of Twitter lately, it's been Tumblr. Tumblr did their whole, you get 2 check marks for $8. 2 shiny check marks rather than 1. I honestly think that, like, if anyone's going to shoot their shot, it very well may be Tumblr. And if Tumblr kind of tries to, like, change their format and the way they work in a much more, like, user-friendly way, I could see them go that way, as a way to allow for porn, because there used to be porn on Tumblr. It was a big deal until Verizon bought them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember the controversy when they killed their not suitable for work stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, they could be the one that actually allows for that. But again, like, they would need to change their format so that it was more easy to find things, because even Tumblr's a little janky when it comes to searching. But yeah, that would be who I would say could be the person to step up.
Yep, nope. That makes sense to me. I'll hop off.
All right.
Let somebody else go.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Well, and I think the thing that popped into my head too real quick was that, let's say you do like a Mastodon thing, you now have, generally, a lot of the instances are run by individuals, and so now you need an individual with like a good legal team, okay? And you've got to figure out all the countries and state laws and everything else, so it's kind of like, how do you do that? It gets really messy, which sucks, by the way. Like, I would rather this be easier for people.
All right. Well, this should be exciting. What can we do for you, friendly CommuneCat?
Okay. So I just want to start by saying I just started watching your guys' content the other day with this whole like, do men have rights, and is it okay for Finster to exist debates. I put debate in quotes. Mm-hmm. And I love you guys, and you guys are amazing.
Oh,
yay!
But what I wanted to come in here specifically to talk about, before I get too sidetracked, because I'm very easily sidetracked, was I wanted to talk about how all of the people in this chat need to learn self-defense. And I wanted to talk about how you guys need to start going to places you're going to feel slightly less comfortable. So I would suggest maybe bringing your friends, but you need to start going to the gun range, and you need to start learning how to use a gun safely. And if you don't feel comfortable using a gun, then you need to buy pepper spray and like a taser, and you need to learn how to use that, because you need to learn how to defend yourself, because I don't think we're going to be able to hold on to, like, I don't even know if we're going to be able to get like the actual votes enough to like win this next coming election, which is in less than a year now, by the way, just so you know. But even if we do get the votes, I'm not 100% sure that'll be enough. Like, I'm not 100% sure that the Republicans aren't just going to straight up like do a fucking like a coup, like a real attempted coup. And even if it doesn't succeed, which I doubt it will, because conservatives don't really have the bulk of military leadership on their side, which you do need in order to do a real successful coup, there will be an immense amount of violence, specifically, especially with all the rhetoric, with fucking, I think, DeSantis from Florida and Texas, with all of their transphobia and stuff. It's going to be directed at the queer community, but largely against trans people. And so, yeah, if you can't, especially if you can't like leave the country, right? You need to learn how to defend yourself.
No, hands down, agreed. We've talked about it on the stream before. A lot of times in between various segments, you know, I've shown off some of the weapons we own. We own 2 pistols. I've gone to gun range a few times. I think that's true. I also think that Autogunamalia in chat has a good point, which is you can't overstate the likelihood of trans feminine people being framed as aggressors. So I do think that's true. That I also think learning this stuff is really important. So there's probably a nice middle ground on that one. But overall, I 100% agree is that learning this stuff is good. You had something to say?
Yeah, that take is somewhere in here. But when we're talking about self-defense, I don't think we're quite talking on that level or scenario as much. I mean, maybe when, you know, the revolution happens, stuff things. But on a self-defense level...
I don't see it as being a revolution as much as I see like roving gangs of chuds like going and finding anybody who's got like the wrong color spray painted on their house, and they just like bust into their house and turns out to be fucking, you know.
Do you have colored hair and pronouns?
I have long hair. It's not colored, but my pronouns are he, him, they, them. I debate with myself a lot as to whether or not, like, because I feel like there's so many like things associated with being like a man in our society that I just don't identify with, and I don't know. I feel like whether or not like you're cisgender or not, I feel like it's all very complicated, and I almost feel like it's too complicated, and I just want to opt out of it for myself.
That's fair.
A little bit.
Yeah, I did put air quotes around revolution, by the way.
Oh yes. I just, it's an odd time, and I don't really know that there's any true historical precedents for what we're going through right now. Because I mean, you can look at things like the Holocaust, and you can in Germany, and you can see like similarities. But there's just something about this particular point in time with the internet, with like people and things like weapons being so widely available to everybody, and mass media. It's created like almost like the first ever of this kind of storm. I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to some degree.
And everybody just needs to be able to defend themselves. Oh, and also something I heard you talk about earlier. You talked about breaking the law in Roblox.
No,
yes.
Before we go on,
okay.
There are some books. I want to say it's like, I'll look them up because they're on my phone. But there are some books about self-defense for trans people and BIPOC people, and how to handle like day-to-day regular situations that are good. I'll try and post them later.
Also, I posted a book from Autogunamalia that literally talks about this. It's a $5 book for...
That's it. That's the one.
Yeah, a self-defense guide for trans women.
If you're sitting in the chat and you're thinking, oh, I'm too small, even if I did learn self-defense, am I really going to be able to protect myself from like some fucking 300-pound asshole with a gun when he pops into my house? I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you what my drill sergeants told me. It doesn't matter how big or small you are. Anybody with a lick of training will squash anybody with no training in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And I want to be really clear. Real quick. So there's a link I just put in both chats. Autogunamalia just pointed this. It is a book called A Self-Defense Study Guide for Trans Women, because the stuff that works for other people doesn't work for us.
And gender non-conforming, non-binary,
AMAB people. Yeah.
folks.
So like
I don't know about that. I don't know if like there's some like are you talking about like literally I couldn't teach you guys how to do like a spinning roundhouse kick?
No, well, more the idea that because of social factors that any act we do, even if it is self-defense, can be reframed as being aggression. Now, if you're talking about roving gangs of chuds, that's one thing. But if you're talking about like say
every day to day in the street, that's definitely a good point. Because exactly like you're saying, if you're a trans woman or mostly a trans woman, not as much if you're a trans man, and you do anything that could even be possibly remotely viewed as aggressive, you're gonna get the electric chair.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if we still do that in America, but
Texas does, but
Yeah,
right.
I fucking knew it. See, that's why I didn't even say I don't think we do that anymore, because I knew somewhere in this fucking country, there's somewhere where the things are fucked up enough that they still do the electric chair.
Okay, I gotta get you to pause. I gotta
yes,
get through
sorry.
this, okay?
It's okay. The
Yes, I'm
ADHD,
sorry.
the
I
ADHD
am
is
sorry.
strong at 11 o'clock.
I swear, mute me if you need to. I swear to God.
So I have done self-defense training, not quite with firearms, but otherwise. It is very useful. A lot of our community will tend to ask us questions like, okay, I don't feel safe with a firearm. This isn't a good situation. That's okay. You can do self-defense classes in terms of like physical stuff. And like CommuneCat said, even if you are small, you know, you're not the strongest, whatever, it doesn't matter. There are absolutely techniques that you can use. All right. Part of the things that you also need to learn in this stuff is how to evaluate situations and how to get yourselves out of them. Right. That's the other half of self-defense, is getting you to safety first. That is your first priority. I really like a self-defense study guide. I found this one at the library. Hoopla's got it. It's very talkative, easy in a comic format, and you can do this with a group of friends. You guys can practice these things that they have, and it's a lot of helping you build confidence or being able to evaluate likely situations that might happen in day-to-day life. So that one I definitely recommend.
I also recommend checking out Tactical Girlfriend. She has videos on how to clean a handgun, how to carry conceal properly, and also going over things like she has one that talks about like how to prevent firearm suicide in houses, so like specific safety things to do. I don't know if she's a trans woman. I like to think she is, but either way, she's cute as a button and incredibly knowledgeable. She taught me, like her video taught me how to clean my handguns. I highly recommend looking for lefties on this. The SRA is also good. They have resources on their website. But no, I think what you're saying, CommuneCat, is absolutely correct. Is that I think with the way things are going, I think it's incredibly important that lefties either A, make community connections, B, learn self-defense, and none of these are ors. They should be ands, but if they can't, at least one of them will do. Make community connections, learn self-defense. And yeah, if you have friends, go out to the range. And I'm going to be really clear. You may think there's ranges that won't allow for queer people. I can tell you that at least there are two ranges in the state of Michigan. I'm not going to say where because you can ask me in DMs, but that are trans friendly. In fact, one of them that's at a city that isn't even like super progressive. It's just relatively, middle ground. Fuck, I bought 2 guns from them and they're cool with me. They're super nice to me. I get nothing but ma'ams, misses, and all that. Probably because I'm spending like $900, but you know.
But the description from our one friend was that they are very like polite and by the book.
Oh yeah, our friend Jimmy was like, yeah, they're all former vets, so basically their whole thing is like, I've served with trans people, gay people, I don't give a shit. The point is, are you buying this gun?
Yeah.
That's honestly, you're not in the military, you're not black, you're not white, you're not trans, you're green, motherfucker. We get told that day one. Yep. Good stuff.
No, Otto, I agree. It is it's absolutely ballistic therapy. But yeah, I 100% agree with your point. Is that like, this is why I agree with D-Mom on this too. Community connections are really important.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's one level. I also agree with Vosh on the idea that getting involved with the SRA, getting weapons. I also agree with Vosh on this, is that I think that getting passports. The other thing I want to also put out there, and this is something that I think is really a big deal, is if you're cishet, I need you to understand something. If things go tits up and this country goes to hell, you are going to have a choice. Your choice is either going to be to throw us under the bus or not. And if you don't, this could end up in violence towards you, harm. This could lead to any number of negative effects on your life, your person, your credit, your credit score, whatever. But we need that level of investment. You have to understand that this is a thing that is life or death for us. And while I don't want anyone to be hurt, I need people to understand that what this really comes down to is people can say they're allies. People can say they want to support queer individuals or BIPOC people. But if we're talking about full-blown genocide, like not cultural genocide, not like slow-moving suicide genocide like they're trying to do now, but I mean a full-blown roving street gangs of chuds, No, we need people to genuinely be aware of how they can help, how to be a support to those people in your life. That could involve helping people buy DIY hormones. That could involve hiding them in your house. It could be being willing to go over state lines to help them get things. It could mean, being willing to consider changing jobs. If you're the person, like the breadwinner of the family, and you have a kid that's trans, if you're able to, I hate to say just move, but in this case, it might be if you're well off and you have the privilege to do so, it is an option. It's not the only option, and well, be it, I don't think it should be the only option. I don't like it when that's just what people say, but again, that's a thing. Hella has a point. Gun shows are good places to buy guns because you can usually haggle the prices down. And Amelia's correct. To some degree, yes, they're expensive and they're a massive investment. I'm not saying that everyone should buy weapons, but also even just having we've got a katana on the wall. Something. Like something. Zena's got throwing knives around here somewhere.
I do. They're over there somewhere.
I mean, I don't care if you have a stick. Just something. Know how to do these things. And also, if you live in a house full of queers, who's ever the most responsible queer, everyone pull your money together, give them to that person, and then go buy the gun. That's the thing. Yeah, it's going to be in their name, but if this is a person you love and trust, say a partner or whatnot, spoiler, one partner holds onto the bullets, the other person holds onto the gun, you put them in different places, and you basically have a pact of, we go get them together if there's ever a threat, but otherwise, you keep them separate in case anyone's got any mental health issues. There are ways to do these things that are very, safety-oriented and can be done as a community. Even just one firearm will definitely make people think twice about whether or not to come fuck with you. Community defense matters.
I am not introducing knives unless I have to. Let me be clear here. I just need to say something.
Buy pepper spray. Jesus.
The winner of a knife fight is who makes it to the hospital first.
True.
Okay? There you go. I don't plan on using my throwing knives for self-defense, though. Go ahead, CommuneCat.
All right. Most knives nowadays are zinc-filled. You can break them in half anyway. That's a really good segue, though, into what was going to be the latter half of what I wanted to talk about, which was more direct action. I would say the left, I feel like, has gotten into we're very comfortable in this niche of doing little essays online, talking people up and pulling them over here to the left. I think we do a pretty good job of that, even if we're not totally perfect. We've got an infighting problem for sure. But there has never been a political movement in which an oppressed people moved out from under the thumb of their oppressor where there wasn't some sort of violence in Roblox. Okay?
True.
And I'm gonna try not to push the boundaries too much in Roblox tonight. But
let me say this real quick. I don't want to go much further with that because we got to be aware of TOS. But I want to say this real quick: is I think we agree with your premise. But the other thing I want to say is that there are efforts of when you say direct action. The question is what do you mean by that? Because I've heard people use that term differently. I know how I usually mean it, but what do you mean when you say that?
I'm trying to think of how to say this the right way that's not going to trigger some kind of putting you guys on a list or whatever.
I'm already on probably several, but that's fine.
I was going to say.
Okay. I'm talking mostly about property damage to the extent of cutting off supply points for one of my go-tos, right, is that I like to talk about the oil industry and how you can, slash tires, rob banks that are connected to the oil industries. Yeah, put up roadblocks for places that they go. You can straight up just fucking stab their tanks, blow up their pipelines. There's no amount. Yeah, in Minecraft, there's no amount of damage that you can do to these people that can even come close to the amount of damage that they're doing to the entire Earth, and the amount that's going to compound in the future. And also, maybe if there's some high-ranking players and you wanted to scare the fucking shit out of them by I don't know, doing something that's really scary to really high-ranking people. Picture them in a building with a window on their little thing, and maybe you can see that window from somewhere else, right? With a scope that you've got that's attached to a thing. So that's usually what I'm talking about when I'm talking about.
So if you're talking about direct action in that format, so to me, when I hear direct action, I hear about what I mean when I say that is, generally speaking, any action on the ground that is made to directly interact with and change things on a political level. So I'm thinking base level nonviolent protests. I'm thinking about potential like some of the.
I've been in a lot of those nonviolent protests, and I'm where I did a lot of those marches for George Floyd, and I just what did that actually do to change anything?
Well, hold on.
I don't understand.
Hold on. I understand the desire for radical action. First off, I want to remind you, TOS exists. I also want to say, so we need to pull it back a little bit. I also want to say that in the right conditions, I don't disagree. It depends on what type of thing we're doing. If this comes down to a flat out, like there's like pogroms happening, then I don't disagree in a hypothetical scenario. If we're talking about like average protests, now what did the George Floyd protest do? Well, one, it got a majority of America behind BLM. Two, it made that issue very, very well notable. Three, it also made people hyper vigilant towards the police. This is why we're getting, after George Floyd, we got a ton more information out there and people started really keeping their cameras up because the ACLU and various other groups really pushed for the idea of really keeping an eye on the cops. So I want to be really clear. I don't want to belittle or reduce the benefits of BLM and the things that they did. And remember, some of those BLM protests did go to the level of property damage and things like that, though in some cases that was more based on provocateurs from the other side, such as cops in regular civilian clothes or other things doing that to make it look like the protests were escalating. I think the thing is, I think it's okay to go that direction. My goal is always to start off with nonviolent. If it moves to that greater level, that's fine. I also want to know it's a fight we can pick that we can win. And so the problem is that... What's that?
Oh, I was going to say, I agree with what you're saying, and I don't think that it's time right now. I just think that we need to be more open to start having that conversation. Because I feel like I'm in a bar, right? And we're sitting at a table, and we're just having a conversation, and I see the guy sitting at the other end of the bar fucking eyeballing us and like playing with his switchblade, and I'm looking at you guys, and I'm like, hey, should we do something about that? And you guys are like, just wait. Well, I'm like, well, how much longer do you want me to wait?
So the problem is that we also have to realize that to some degree, the system is against us. Because in your hypothetical scenario, the problem is that guy can be playing with his switchblade all he wants in the hypothetical, but until that guy actually walks over to our table and takes a swing, technically us going after him puts us against the state. Now, I'm not saying I'm not willing to make that jump, but the reality is that in that hypothetical scenario, until he actually moves, we can't get the system on our side without him making that move first, because that's literally the definition of self-defense. The problem is this is the thing you're talking about is the same thing that happens in how we get screwed in protests. Someone like the Proud Boys or other people show up holding firearms and they don't do anything. But because people get jumpy and want to fuck with them, what ends up happening is you fall into their trap. They get you to fuck with them a little bit, and they wait until they have a reason, and then they open fire. The problem. And I'm not trying to be sarcastic. Sometimes I sound sarcastic, and I don't mean to. So we really do just have to wait for the guy to walk across the bar, then. To some degree, yeah, because up until then, it's not
self-defense at that point.
Yeah, and otherwise you're talking about preemptive defense, and the thing is I don't disagree with that. The problem is that in a society as it sits now, there is no such thing within the law as like a preemptive defense, because the problem is you'd have to in some way, beyond a shadow of a doubt, prove that this person was going to do that. And if all this guy is doing this is swinging around a knife, we can't prove that in the hypothetical. In the same way, that's how Proud Boys and various other groups screwed us, is that they would go to these situations and just claim, oh, we're just holding them.
Ohio actually had quite a few of these kind of situations recently where like they showed up at like a story time hour at a local like library church function. This exact thing actually kind of happened.
Yeah. So the issue is that in some ways I'm not saying we have to wait till they do something. There's still actions we can take. We can go to the bartender and tell them, hey, that guy's looking surly, or we can move away, or we can do any number of things in that hypothetical. In the same way, we can still do protest actions. We can still push against certain people. We can still do various other things. But at the end of the day, like, for us to preemptively act, we need the material conditions to be on our side. And right now, anyone attempting any kind of larger action to make big changes in the form of either, like, say, a hypothetical coup or some kind of big, revolutionary action or whatever, the problem being is that you'd have to have the military on your side, and the military is not going to support either side. That's the issue, is that they're centrist.
Any attempt to dissuade just like the status quo, the military will not.
Yeah, we have to work within the system as it exists, which means the way we do this in my language would be is direct action is, one, keep dealing with things at a local level. Mm-hmm. If you see someone going for sheriff, challenge them in the election if you feel like you're up for it, because a lot of times, like they showed this on last week tonight, a lot of times sheriffs get elected without anyone going against them. Go against them.
A huge number of trans people got elected in this last election.
Yeah.
Like an actually huge number.
So in a lot of cases, what we have to do is we have to try to modify the system as best we can with also the preparation. Your take about self-defense for the first part of this is exactly apt, because this is the problem we have. We're in this position where the system is not here to protect us. The system is here to marginalize us. That is what the point of the police are. That is what the point of these larger systems are. So if we're going to use those systems to our advantage, the only way we can do that is by directly using them in the way that we best can with the way the law is set up, which means you wait till they act, you take the exact actions necessary to shut them down, and then you absolutely go to the authorities, you do whatever you need to do, because that is how you nail people. Well, that is how you end these things.
The other thing is you keep, especially like with current political culture, keep showing up, keep protesting, keep putting pressure on people. We don't necessarily have to escalate to, physical action yet in a lot of cases, right? We can still keep pissing off the person in the office by keep showing up and telling them, no, you're being a transphobe, stop it. All right?
But we have to end this one because we have other people here. I want to say just real quick.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll do is, if you want to help, if you're someone who's a former person in military service, mm-hmm. there are tons of stories of people for Pride or other organizations where they will have armed groups come in to be of assistance. Find some of those. Yeah, find out a lot of those. Find those local trans groups. Find those things, mm-hmm. and basically work towards. If you want to be there at a Pride parade or you want to be there at a protest, holding a weapon, because your presence prevents a fascist from acting.
Or you've got even like basic, the medic first aid training, and you can do that.
I would rather you be there with a firearm than some kid that doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's my take. So we have to move on to other people, but I think we're for the most part in agreement. I just don't want to act unnecessarily because I want to win that fight.
Yeah, no, I completely. I don't know if I'm. I just don't know if I'm. I want to know if I'm alone, and I feel like I feel itchy, and I don't know how else to describe it. I'm itching.
No, we feel it too. There's a reason that Poppy decided no, we should have a firearm. Poppy before now was very much against firearms entirely. All right, you are not the only one feeling itchy at all. I think we just got to be really, at least Poppy and I got to be really careful with the rhetoric, because there are people that will take us very literally when we say these things. Or we have seen other people advocate for other things that aren't great that could get very bad results, and so we got to be really careful with that. But no, I think this is stuff to watch out for, and I think everybody starting with self-defense is good, and community networking is going to be the bestest place to start, so we can actually start taking greater steps after that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, our enemies are going to make the assumption that we, by definition, are not going to actually put up much of a fight. I think we should completely make sure that they are absolutely incorrect about that.
Yes, I feel like this is a good place for me to go. Real quick shameless plug, CommuneCat on Twitch if you want to listen to more of my awesome takes. Woo!
All right, CommuneCat, thank you so much.
Wait, did I not hang up?
No, you're good.
Do I not know how to hang up?
Oh, that was beautiful. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also, consider donating to us. You can support us on our website, transgirltherapist.org. You can also help us on our Patreon, link below, or you can become a member here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching.